Hey guys, what's up? It is time for another reaction video. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different and we're going to be reacting to Canada and the United States compared. I've been doing a lot of UK videos lately and I've been learning a lot, and I'm definitely going to be doing quite a bit more because obviously there's so much history there. Yeah, I've only done a few videos. So this is going to be probably a lot more about Europe and the UK and stuff. But I just thought it'd be fun to kind of branch out and do something a little bit different for this video. And I saw this and it seemed like it was pretty factual. It's got pretty good like to dislike ratio. And some of the comments were saying it's pretty factual, so I really appreciate that. Anyway, this is from the channel Mr. Beat. But before we get into the video, I would like to say thank you guys for subscribing and all the likes and support you guys have been giving me. I really appreciate it. I did notice that I passed the 1,000 subscriber mark. So this next weekend I will be doing my 1,000 sub video, and I will be having a very special guest on for that. So you guys can look forward to seeing that. You guys have just been amazing, and I just really appreciate you guys. Also, all the comments that you guys have been giving, I've been learning so much from them. I really do appreciate them. I haven't had time to really respond, obviously, to all of them, but I do want you guys to know that I do read most of them. So with that being said, let's get into this video and learn more about our neighbors to the north of us.
This video is sponsored in part by CuriosityStream. Canada and the United States of America, the two biggest countries in North America.
We coexist together because we're all Canadian. We're part of Canada and we're bonding together against the common enemy, the United States.
Huh?
What a horrible country. I live there now. They're the most un-Canadian people you will ever meet in your life.
Nah, actually, both have a lot in common. Whoa, are we really gonna do this? Okay, let's do this. Both have very close cultural and economic ties. So actually, both are two of the biggest countries in the world. Canada is slightly bigger than the United States. Both share the world's longest border between two countries. The border stretches...
Oh, wow. Sorry, I haven't been to Niagara Falls yet, but that is awesome.
Is 5,525 miles, or, 8,891 kilometers. Yeah, while Canada has officially adopted the metric system as a whole, the United States is only one of 3 countries in the entire world that hasn't. That said, plenty of Canadians don't always use the metric system to measure stuff, and plenty of Americans.
Yeah, I still don't quite understand why we don't use the metric system. That being said, I do somewhat understand it, but obviously I don't use it in my day-to-day life, so yeah, I don't use it that much. I did learn about it in school though. But yeah, it just seems way simpler, and I really don't understand why we don't. Yeah, it's just weird.
Americans do often use the metric system.
And then what really confuses me, as most people know, is why we spell things in our English system, like for pounds, LB is pounds, or OZ for ounces. I don't know, it's always been kind of confusing, but I mean, since I grew up with it, it's pretty normal to me.
Anyway, let's stick with more similarities first, okay? Both are two of the wealthiest, most developed countries in the world. Immigrants have flocked to both countries for economic opportunity for centuries, which is why major cities in both are some of the most ethnically diverse in the world. Both have mixed economies and have a progressive tax system on income. However, Canadians definitely pay higher taxes overall. Oh, lots of trading be going on between the two. The United States is Canada's largest trading partner, and Canada is consistently a top 3 trading partner for the United States.
I was gonna say, our top trader is probably China. I hope he gets into what we exactly trade, because I'm not for sure. I know we do oil and wood. I'm sure there's a lot more than just that, but those are the two that come to my mind. Probably food. Probably a lot of food goes back and forth between the countries.
United States. Both are in NATO and have historically fought as allies in wars. Both have lots of natural resources. Both have a wide variety of climates and rainfall patterns. Both are democratic. Specifically, the United States is a democratic republic, and Canada is a parliamentary democracy and constitutional monarchy. Both are growing at the same rate.
Oh wow, I had no idea. I knew. I think Canada's population is, I want to say, like 40 million. So for their size, it's actually a really low population, but
Residents of both generally like their space. Indeed, everything is more spread out in both countries. Both have mostly the same holidays. Yeah, they both celebrate Thanksgiving, but of course not on the same day. Americans celebrate it on the 4th Thursday of November. Canadians celebrate it on the 2nd Monday of October. This is partially because Americans associate the holiday more with the Pilgrims coming over, while Canadians associate it more with the Harvest Festival in general. Hey, you know what? Let's get into some history. But before we get into that, here's a word from our sponsor.
Oh, I guess he doesn't have a sponsor.
Oh, me? Oh, I guess I'm the one who is telling you about this video sponsor because
he
that's
does,
how
okay.
it usually is. Yeah, so this video is sponsored by CuriosityStream, the best place to
Good for you, man. Good for you.
stream educational content on the interwebs. CuriosityStream has thousands of streamable documentaries and nonfiction, award-winning exclusive TV shows on topics like history, nature, science, food, technology, travel, and more. With more than 35 collections of curated programs handpicked by their experts, streamed to any device, anytime. I recommend the series American Icons to start off with. Try it out by visiting the link on the screen and in the description of this video. Use code MrBeat to sign up and get it for
That's really
for
cheap.
just $14.99 for the whole year. Thanks to CuriosityStream for sponsoring this video. And for the next part of this video, my friend Mr. Betts from the channel Drawn of History told me that he just turned me into a cartoon if I jumped into the computer. Let's try this out, shall we?
But yeah, at the beginning, I actually did think that he was joking about having a sponsor. So, but hey, good, really good for him for having one. That's awesome.
Okay then, let's do this. Well, the earliest humans in what would later become both countries had settled nearly all of North America by 12,000 years ago. The Norse came to North America, maybe as far south as modern-day United States, but certainly modern-day Canada, around 1,000 years ago. Throughout the 1500s, European explorers came searching for riches and to take over and convert indigenous peoples to their religion. The big three countries to explore, conquest, convert, and colonize were Spain, England, and France. The Dutch and Swedes also had
PewDiePie is a Swede. That's hilarious.
small claims as well, and the Russians out west
Okay, I mean, obviously PewDiePie is a Swede, but
later on. Ultimately, future Canada and a big chunk of the future United States would be fought over by the British and French, while the Spanish held on to claims for another big chunk of the future United States up into future Canada. By the early 1700s, around a few thousand Spanish, 16,000 French, and 300,000
Jeez.
English settlers lived in modern-day United States and Canada. That alone should tell you the direction the future would go. But first, a few wars between France and Britain. The biggest one, the 7 Years' War, well, specifically the French and Indian War, led to Britain taking over all previously held French territory in mainland North America. Britain was feeling pretty good about themselves until 13 of its colonies decided to all up and declare.
okay. So that's why I had forgotten in history. On one of my previous videos was when the UK got a hold of Canada. I had forgotten about that. Good refresher.
Independence a few years after this. Today, Americans celebrate July 4th, 1776, as their country's birthday, as that was the day the Second Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence. After the American War of Independence, Britain lost most of its North American colonies, but it did hold on to future Canada. Many of the loyalists during that war, or folks who wanted to stay loyal to Britain, ended up fleeing the United States to future Canada. The United States was
Yeah, I do feel like there were a lot of what I've read in history. There actually were a good amount of loyalists who were wanting to keep Britain as the ruler of the colonies. So it kind of makes sense because they were kind of hated and looked down upon. So it makes sense that they would move up to Canada after that.
was truly an experiment. It was the first government that went all in for the Enlightenment ideals of liberalism and republicanism, completely rejecting royalty and the aristocracy, while calling for prioritizing the protection of natural rights. It was the first major group of colonies to successfully revolt against colonial rule and inspire the rest of the world. Meanwhile, in 1791, Britain established Upper Canada and Lower Canada. Lower Canada still had a predominantly French population. Also by that time, there were the colonies of Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. In 1803, the United States bought Louisiana from France, doubling the size of the country. Now let's jump.
Yeah, that still blows my mind when I always look at that, because that right there, that piece of land. Oh shoot, sorry. This right, all that was bought for $15 million, which I don't know what that equates to in modern money. I can look actually real fast. Okay, so at least according to Google, the Louisiana purchase would only be worth $342 million, which seems like a lot, but for all that land, I mean, that was a ridiculously good deal. I mean, I know obviously Napoleon needed the money to fight wars and stuff, so, and they weren't really trying to colonialize over here as much. So for him, he probably thought he got out on top, but like seriously though, even like the fact that one person nowadays could buy all that land, at least in well for what they bought it for, is just beyond me. That's just crazy.
Louisiana from France, doubling the size of the country. Now let's jump ahead to the War of 1812. Most Canadians today know all about the War of 1812 and love to point out how this was the war when the British forces burnt down the White House. Most Americans barely know anything.
If that's true, I'd love the fact that that's how Canadians remember it. That's hilarious.
About the War of 1812. So hey, Americans, why don't you educate yourselves on it, okay? Mr. Betts has just released a video about it over on his new channel, Drawn of History. Go watch it right now and come back, or watch it later or something. I don't know. This is a collaboration, okay? Yes, we plan to release these videos at the same time. It's a conspiracy. Anyway, yeah, so the future Canadian...
That's cool seeing like YouTubers work together. I always like that. But yeah, actually, I do think it's funny with the War of 1812 because like the colonies, the newly founded Americans, since they just got their independence pretty much. They thought that Canada would want the same independence and freedom that we had from Britain, but the Canadians were actually totally fine with Britain and didn't want anything to do with America. So I do think that that's hilarious. They're like, oh yeah, we'll just come in and take over you, and you can have all ideas and freedoms. And they're like, no, we're fine with Britain ruling us, and like, yeah, we don't want you in our country fighting on our behalf. We didn't ask you to. So I do think it's funny.
Canadians and Americans battled it out in the War of 1812, but really, it was a draw. One thing for sure, after that war, things have been relatively peaceful between the two countries ever since. Well, there was the Oregon boundary dispute, as both the United Kingdom and the United States looked to continue expanding westward.
Okay, yeah, so one thing that's actually interesting, I recently went to Boston and I actually got to see the USS Constitution, which was one of America's first Navy vessels that we had, and it's actually still up and running, and it's actually technically a commissioned vessel still, which is run by the U.S. Navy, so like technically it could be called out to go to war. I just thought that was an interesting fact, and yeah, I'm just really glad that I actually got to like go on. I was actually able to actually go on it and look at it around. It was really cool.
Both had signed the Treaty of 1818 to settle boundary disputes and to jointly settle an Oregon country. However, as more and more American settlers came to Oregon by the 1840s, tensions got a little hot between the two. Fortunately, they resolved it with the Oregon Treaty, splitting up Oregon at the 49th parallel so that the United Kingdom got the northern half and the United States got the southern half. That 49th parallel today makes up much of the border between the United States and Canada. I guess later there was also a dispute between Alaska and the United Kingdom as well, once gold was discovered in the Yukon, but that was settled relatively easily. Back to the 1840s,
Of course, when gold's involved, there's disputed borders.
The United States annexed the Republic of Texas, eventually leading to a war with Mexico, which the United States won and then got the northern half of Mexico due to winning that war. A few years later, it got its modern contiguous borders after the Gadsden Purchase. During the American Civil War, future Canada officially stayed neutral, although tens of thousands of men from future Canada enlisted to help the Union forces. Most from future Canada, after all, were against slavery by this time, and future Canada had long been a final destination for runaway slaves through the Underground Railroad. The British had gotten rid of slavery back in 1834. Anyway,
So, I've read quite a bit about the Civil War, and I've never come across the fact that Canadians were coming down and helping with the Union. So, that was really awesome that they did that.
couple years after the Union was preserved and the 13th Amendment ended slavery in the United States, Canada actually became a country. Well, kind of. Mostly. They were a dominion, still technically part of the British Empire, but self-governing. Today, Canada Day is kind of like the 4th of July or Independence Day in the States. Canadians celebrate it on the anniversary of the Canadian Confederation being established on July 1st, 1867, in which the three colonies of Canada, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick united. So here is how Canada looked at the time. But over the following decades, it expanded dramatically. And the United States tried to expand overseas. After getting Alaska, it aggressively found itself trying to gain a bunch of islands who mostly were not too happy being taken over. Kind of like all those Native Americans who had their lands stolen over the previous 2 centuries. Canadians generally did not treat indigenous peoples much better as they expanded. Both countries discriminated against people of color, and segregation was the norm into the first half of the 1900s.
Oh wow. Yeah, I had no idea that Canada had segregation.
Reforms in both countries during that time, such as women finally getting the right to vote, followed a similar pattern during that time. Canada and the United States were close allies during both the world wars. While the United Kingdom put Canada with full equal standing with it in 1931, most Americans have no idea that Canada didn't truly become a completely independent country until 1982.
Wow, that is not that I'm that old, but that's actually almost within my lifetime. That is crazy.
After it adopted its own constitution. After World War II, both countries went through very prosperous times and continued to follow similar paths with reforms. However, Canada went a bit further with its government programs and has been more left-leaning, and this trend continues to this day. Canada also seems to have gone in a more progressive direction earlier. For example, it legalized same-sex marriage 10 years before the United States. Today, many of the differences between Canada and the United States are linked to the fact that Canada stayed loyal to Britain for many years after the United States became a country, after breaking away from Great Britain. Most Americans love Canada. Less Canadians adore the United States, but still, they get along so freaking well. The United States has more people, a lot more people. In fact, it has 9 times as many people and has the 3rd largest population in the world. California has more people than Canada. Remember, Canada is slightly bigger in size and is the 2nd largest country in the world by area, followed only by Russia. However, most of this area has few residents due to it being oh so very, very cold.
I was gonna say, I think a lot of Canada is not inhabited. Oh wow, that is crazy. Only 100 miles from the border. That's less than like a 2-hour drive. That's crazy. I had no idea.
90% of Canadians actually live within 100 miles of the U.S. border. And yeah, let's look at the climate more.
I gotta admit though, America or the United States has a lot of mountains, but Canada has a lot of mountains, and I love that.
closely. Canada is perhaps obviously colder being further north, even if you include comparing it to Alaska. Most of Canada's climate zones are affected by very cold air from the Arctic region. There are exceptions. Along the southwestern coast of Canada, there is mostly an oceanic climate. Much of southern Canada has various types of continental or arid climates. However, the vast majority of Canada is subarctic, and much of it is also tundra. The furthest northern areas of Canada are even permanently under ice. The United States
That is crazy. I mean, I knew that being so far north, but like seeing pictures of that is crazy.
is obviously warmer overall, but basically has every climate zone imaginable. From the rainforests of Hawaii to the tundra of Alaska, from the humid subtropical climate of most of the South and part of the Midwest, to the deserts of the western portions of the country. Heck, you'll even see several different climate types within one state. The wettest parts of the country get as much as 275 inches of precipitation each year. On the other hand, Death Valley, which is often not only the driest but hottest place in the country, barely gets more than 2 inches of precipitation each year. Canada has just as crazy of difference. The driest parts of the country up in Nunavut get just over 3 inches of rain each year, and Henderson Lake on Vancouver Island gets more than 287 inches each year. It gets more rainfall than any other place in North America. There are 50 states in the United States, and also a federal district, 5 self-governing territories, and several other random island possessions. Canada has 10 provinces and 3 territories. The life expectancy is higher in Canada. Related to this, Canada has universal health care. The United States does not. Yeah, politically, the United States is more conservative on most issues. The median age
Yeah, I knew that Canada had universal health care, and that's one of the big differences.
is higher in Canada. Canada has 2 official languages, English and French. The majority of Quebec residents
To be fair, I feel like the United States, not only do we have a lot of different cultures and such, but we almost Spanish is almost a second language. I don't know how to speak it, but there is almost like a second language for Spanish. Now it's not in this sense that everyone speaks both languages, but it's the majority of people speak English or Spanish. Even people at stores and such, they actually are definitely pushing like towards pretty much making it easier for people that speak Spanish to live in America. So I don't know if that classifies as having 2 languages or not, since most of the people that speak English, most of the people that speak Spanish. Anyway, I just want to bring that up.
speak French as a first language. The United States has no official language, but the 2 most common languages are English
Okay, so he brought it up.
and Spanish. The poverty rate is higher in the United States, although Canadians measure their poverty rate differently, so perhaps that is misleading. The United States also has worse debt as a percentage of GDP. However, the median household income is higher in the United States. Football, or American football, that is the most popular sport in the United States, whereas ice hockey is the most popular sport in Canada. Major League Baseball and the National Basketball League both have 29 American teams and 1 Canadian team. Those Canadian teams in both leagues are based in Toronto, which indeed is a city that feels like it actually could be in the United States. The cost of living is generally higher in the United States. At the time of this recording, 1 Canadian dollar was worth about 76 cents, meaning Americans visiting Canada get more of a better deal. Normally, there is lots of movement going back and forth between the countries, but less so, obviously, during the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking of the pandemic,
Yeah, obviously. I'm pretty sure they shut down travel back about a year ago. We shut all countries were shutting down travel, but I'm pretty sure Mexico and Canada, they shut travel down to us, and we shut travel down to them. trying to keep everyone safe and such.
Canada has fared with it better than the United States. Canadians are generally less religious. For those who are religious, more identify as Roman Catholic, whereas in the United States, more identify as Evangelical Protestant. A higher percentage of Canadians have college degrees, although the United States is known for having some of the best colleges in the world, and yeah, Canada spends more on education. Despite agriculture being much more of a big deal in the United States, more Americans live in urban areas. Sure, almost 80% of Canadians live in urban areas, but 80% of the entire country is uninhabited. Most of Canada is straight up wilderness, and
that is crazy to think that there's like still huge places in the world that are just like totally desolate and uninhabited. I mean, it's just awesome. Like even with what we like 7-8 billion people, like there's still these huge, vast areas just left to still like explore and see.
it has more wilderness than any other country other than Russia. Just about 18% of the...
I love how he keeps like bringing up, it's like the biggest or whatever, or the biggest or has the most other than Russia. It's kind of hilarious. It's just like number 2 to Russia.
United States is wilderness. Major industries in Canada include mining, healthcare, manufacturing, and transportation. Major industries in the United States also include healthcare and manufacturing, but additionally, technology and retail. According to the World Happiness Report, Canadians are happier than Americans. Canada is known for Tim Hortons. The United States is known for Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks. Well, dang.
Okay, just 1 second. I gotta look this up. Okay, Tim Hortons, I guess, is a Canadian restaurant chain known for its coffee and donuts. I've never heard of Tim Hortons.
While we're at it, the United States is known for so many freaking brands. 3 of the 5 biggest companies in the world, Walmart, Amazon, and Apple, are all based there. Probably the most well-recognized symbol of the United States is the bald eagle. The most well-recognized symbol of Canada, the maple leaf. It's even on the flag. The American flag has 13 stripes that represent the original 13 colonies and 50 stars that represent the 50 states of the Union. The United States has a much bigger military. In fact, it easily
obviously we have a much bigger population.
has the largest military in the world. No other country even comes close. Marijuana is completely legal in Canada, but in some American states it's still illegal. Canada has less violent crime. The United States has a higher percentage of its own citizens in prison than any other country in the world.
Yeah, I can definitely believe that. It's pretty sad that that's the case. I don't know. I did some other videos kind of covering the prison system in other countries, but I kind of talked a little bit about what I think of the prison system here in America. But again, I will say, yeah, I'm definitely not proud of it, and I definitely think we should change it quite a bit.
That said, the United States is generally a more free place. One example of this is censorship. Perhaps due to Americans placing a high value on freedom of speech, you just hear and see more provocative and controversial stuff there. How about Canadian content, eh? The Canadian government actually requires that radio and TV broadcasters, including cable and satellite channels, have to broadcast at least a certain percentage of content that was at least partially created or presented by Canadian residents. Fortunately,
that's really cool.
For Canada, lots of great music comes out of the country considering how much fewer folks live there. But yeah, American culture is more influential on the world. Throughout history, as the United States dominated mass media, it also spread its culture around the world through music, movies, TV shows, video games, and social...
I forget what, it says, I think that was Super Bowl 52, if I'm reading that correctly. I didn't actually watch it, or no, I wasn't into football at that time, but yeah, I know the Super Bowl was a huge, which is just randomly throwing that out there, but it's really weird that a lot of people watch the Super Bowl to watch ads. Like, for me, I hate ads. I can't stand watching them. That's why I enjoy Netflix and Amazon and such. There's so many people that aren't even into football, they will watch the Super Bowl just for ads. And the ad... I think it costs millions of dollars for a company to have 30 seconds of ad time for the Super Bowl, which is crazy. I mean, the whole football industry is worth billions, probably hundreds of billions of dollars, which is insane. But yeah, I mean, America definitely loves our American football.
Social media. There are two major reasons for this. One, a spirit of innovation throughout American history, and two, just having a huge domestic market. With the majority of Americans speaking English, they have also had access to a worldwide market of more than 2 billion English speakers. The United States is more
Which we can thank the UK for that.
nationalistic. If you tell a Canadian about the Pledge of Allegiance, many of them would be a bit confused, to say the least. Canada stopped making pennies. The United States still does, for some reason. Canadians generally do know a lot more about the United States than Americans know about Canada. Americans party harder. I have no scientific evidence to back this up, but it's probably true. Okay, let's try to wrap this up. Overall, most of the differences between the two are subtle. Like, Canadians apparently call these pencil crowns, but Americans call them colored pencils. And Canadians call these washrooms, and Americans call them bathrooms or restrooms.
Or urinals, in that case. Yeah, I would think a washroom, when I consider a washroom, I consider like a laundry room. Or like an area for, yeah, I wouldn't think of a bathroom when I hear washroom.
But honestly, folks like JJ McCullough argue those differences are overrated. Because both countries are so dang big, and because there are so many regional differences, it's been really difficult making this video, since many of these generalizations are misleading. Undoubtedly, the United States remains a superpower in the world, and Canada is often in its shadow. However, both continue to thrive and really do depend on each other. And yeah, they really are two of my favorite countries. I mean, no surprise, right? Full disclosure, I am an American, in case you hadn't figured it out by now. But I've been to Canada multiple times, and I really love it up there. I did also have a Canadian friend who really loves the United States read over the script. That'd be the amazing JJ McCullough. Thank you, JJ.
Huh, that's cool. But yeah, anyway, yeah, I didn't actually quite realize that we were so close culturally and stuff. So that's really cool to see. I know a lot of like actors and singers, like tons and tons of actors and singers are from Canada, and I knew we did a lot of trade with them. I didn't know that we, like, obviously when North America was kind of found or discovered. So obviously we both have like new history and very similar timelines. But yeah, I don't know. I've actually always wanted to go to Canada, and I actually almost did when I was in Boston, but it was like a 3-hour drive, and it was during COVID, so we kind of thought that it wouldn't be wise to be crossing the border at that time. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, he did a really good job for trying to compare the two, so I don't know. I really appreciate it, and I think I learned a decent amount. Like, I had no idea how similar they were. But yeah, that's it. That is all I have for today. Be looking forward to that 1,000 sub video. And I've got some deeper content coming out this next weekend. So if you guys want to check that out when it gets posted, hopefully within the next week. And if you watched this far, please like, subscribe, and comment below and tell me what you thought. And with that being said, I will see you guys later. Thanks.